So welcome to Ecoholics. A very good evening to all of you. So in today's lecture, we'll discuss about the growth push from the demand side. Now we start with our discussion. Now these days, whenever I discuss anything related to economics with anyone, what they are asking, so I am often asked that what is the main my prognosis or my opinion on the current economic situation of India, and what are your expectation about the future. So regarding this, so I just thought that we should discuss about this growth push and how we can derive the Indian economy towards the growth rate that we wanted is 8% per annum. So now my answer to the people that they are asking continuously about what is the main problem here. Now if I say that the answer about the future, if we talk about India's future growth, like 10 years, 5 years down the line, that is driven by, or that will be driven by, we can say two important things. The first one is right demographic, right demographics, and the productivity improvement. So right demographics we need for the future, as well as the improvement in the productivity. So these are the two things that we need. Now talking about the first one, it is already visible that India is having the demographic dividend, but there is no debate regarding this. But the second one, about the productivity improvement, we have certain reforms. Now these reforms are very important to harness the India's potential, especially when we say the combination of entrepreneurial energy regarding new skills, industrial technologies, competitive factor market. So these are the points that you can write in your answer writing. Next one is enabling infrastructure. Enabling infrastructure that actually support certain regulatory regimes are important. So last one is the support of the regulatory regime. So these are the few things that will determine the India's potential growth rate. So again I am repeating, very important, entrepreneurial energy in the country, new skills available to the laborers, industrial technology as advanced technologies like 5G, artificial intelligence, etc. Competitive factor market related to labor as well as capital, like easily available loans as well as the decent wages or skillful labors. Next one is enabling infrastructure regarding the sectors that will provide certain opportunities for the industries to actually work in the economy. And the last is support of regime, means support of the government to actually make use of these kind of things. Now if we talk about reforms undertaken by the government of India till this particular point, now you know that there have been certain reforms that government of India is taking time and again, like the latest is the cut in CIT. What is CIT? Is corporate income tax. So the cut in corporate income tax is, we can say, the third important radical reform that government took. First two were the insolvency and bankruptcy code and the GST. So goods and services tax and insolvency and bankruptcy code were the two initial reforms in order to boost the economy, and the last one is cutting down the corporate income tax just to revive the economy. So according to me, these two are still in process. They haven't completed, we can say, and they need certain kind of fine tuning. Now, in the recent lecture, I had discussed about that India's rank in the World Economic Forum competitive index rank, that is India's rank slipped to 68. So we can say that last year it was 58, so slipped to 68. It means much of the work we need to actually still needs to be done. Now this lecture is not about the future, because future will come later, like we are discussing. This lecture is about the present. Now presently, what economy can do. The most important thing, as a lot of experts are saying, that there are many reasons behind the slowdown of the economy. Now this slowdown is very different from the all previous slowdowns. Now if we see the slowdown, the main reasons outlined by many economists, the number one is NBFC credit squeeze. What does it mean? It means NBFCs are not having the adequate amount of liquidity into the market. So because of the high amount of NPAs as well as the project failure, so they are not having the any amount left in order to create the fresh credit. So the liquidity is obviously less. The next is the risk averseness of the bankers, like especially the NPAs, high amount of NPAs, especially under the category of public sector banks. Now these kind of bankers are struggling with high amount of NPAs, so they are not able to create the fresh loans just because of high risk they are assuming. Apart from this, the high deficit. So again, the fiscal deficit is 3.3% for this year, and by cutting down taxes, etc., it is expected that it may go up to 3.8%, barring the surplus transfer from RBI. Now obviously this coupled with the falling saving rates. So when saving rates will fall, obviously, because the saving will be converted into investment. So if you save, that will go to bank and banks will lend, so that will convert it into investment. So first two, just because we can say falling of saving rate is also another important factor behind the slowdown. And the next and the last one we have is the negative sentiments. Negative sentiments of the tax, or we can say enforcement authority. So we have seen in the latest case of CCD owner, which actually who committed suicide just because of the harassment from the tax and the enforcement authority. So this is negative sentiments related to this. Apart from this, there are other reasons like stressed balance sheet of especially infrastructure company. So stressed balance sheet is the document of assets and liabilities. So whenever liabilities are more and assets are less, it means that they are having the stressed balance sheet. And this infrastructure stressed balance sheet led to the decline in the real estate market as well. So in the real estate market, it was also struggling just because of the demonetization, the GST, and the introduction of RERA, Real Estate Regulatory Authority. So these kind of things are the reasons behind the slowdown. So if someone asks you that what are the reasons behind the slowdown, so you can happily give these kind of evidences that these are the reasons behind the slowdown in the Indian economy. Now coming on to the another angle of this, like all these explanation obviously in favor of the slowdown, but we have different types of degree. Like latest bold move is the cut in the corporate income tax. Now this is obviously very important in order to promote the investment into the economy, but a lot of observers or the economists are saying that these are the supply side measures. These are the supply side measures. It means they will promote growth from the supply side. They will stimulate the supply in the economy. What we will need, the supply side measures, is, we can say, a time taking exercise. So it takes a lot of time. Now if we talk about the demand side, mainly the demand side is the consumption. Now consumption contributes 60% of India's GDP. So GDP, India's GDP, 60% of GDP is contributed by the consumption into the economy. This is, we can say, the biggest driver of the Indian economic growth, especially in the short run. So what we need right now is short-term solution or short-term solution, because the supply side problems are, or supply side solutions are, the long-term solution. So here the most important thing here, that we need to increase the domestic consumption, because domestic consumption is not being compensated by the increased growth in the investment and what government is doing for exports as well, because exports will obviously not increase the demand, domestic consumption demand. So obviously the government focus is on investment as well as on export, but what about the domestic consumption? Now there are certain types of challenges also, like global trend regime, recent up and down in the drivers of the growth of the economy. Now to develop certain effective policy or interesting patterns, what we have seen, like if you ever read the newspaper or in the recent years, or if you see any news channel, what media is highlighting about the dramatic and continuous slide into the automobile sector. Obviously automobile sector is struggling, no doubt about it, and in order to correct this, we need short quick solution for this, and government is doing this, like by increasing the depreciation provisions, higher depreciation, and removing the ban on government purchase. So government also purchasing a lot of automobiles, a lot of vehicles. And apart from this, the cut in the repo rate, so lower interest rate, will also benefit the vehicle loans, etc. But here we can say, if you see other products, like the products of the mass consumption, if we see the products of mass consumption, like for example the biscuits, the bicycles, they have also seen decline in their demand. But whenever you go to the certain consumer goods, higher brand ends, like certain consumer categories, they are actually registering the robust growth rate. Now what kind of these products are? Like the products of skin care, like moisturizer, body lotion, premium brands, etc. They are actually seeing the growth, that is the robust growth in their demand. Even alcoholic beverages have seen the high amount of growth. Now these kind of higher end brands obviously showing certain other things that Indian economy is not actually portraying that particular picture. Now obviously this seems very different, that slowing down of demand also categorized into a certain category. Now to understand the root cause, we need to understand the consumption pattern of India. Now if you see the historical shift in the consumption pattern of India, like if you see 2010 and suppose we are approaching 2020, if we compare these 2 years, 2010 and 2020, now a decade ago, that is in 2010, the discussion on the consumption was that new middle class will rise. So new middle class, generally we say the next billion, that is the nickname for this, next billion. Now these kind of households in 2010, we were expecting that emerging households, especially from the lowest income segment that started their consumption journey starting with 2010, they actually drove 60% of India's total consumption, and that were growing very fast. But whenever we compare this new middle class in 2020, this consumption level fallen to 40%. Very important data. If you see the next 10 years, 2030, this is expected to go below 30%. It means that will again further fall. So what will happen if we see the top two income segment groups, like the people belonging to affluent or elite income level? So they have actually increased from 20% in 2010 to approximately 50% in 2020. So the consumption pyramid of India has been changing, and this is what we can say the long-term transition that Indian economy is facing. Now higher income segments are actually driving the growth right now. So whenever we have the middle class, it is related to mass. But whenever we see the few classes, few affluent, that is the question related to few people. So the consumption obviously on the luxuries and other mass projects are very different. So what affluent and elite class are actually consuming, these are luxuries, and what normal people are consuming, that is the mass goods. So what I said, that the duty structure of India for the affluent or the elite class or for the luxuries, that must be in consonant with the Indian economic growth, because mass consumption is going down, you can see, from 60% to 40% to 30%. But about this, the 20% to 50%, it is further assumed that it will go up in the future. So government should make the policy, the duty structure, especially the income tax on luxuries, etc., or GST on luxuries, etc. So we need to be carefully understand that duty structure. Now the big question is that short term obviously is about why we have mass consumption demand slowed down faster than the shift in the consumption pyramid. Here the consumption pyramid means like this. This is the top level income, that's a middle level, and this is the lower segment. So you can understand the shift is in the consumption is going up, but the shift is slow in comparison to the slowdown in the mass consumption. So we have the three solution for this. First of all, the three solution, first among that is, while we have seen the per capita income, that is the average per capita income, that is the growth over 6% over the last few years, like 5 to 6 years, most of them has gone to upper income group. It means in the last 5 to 6 years, India's inequality went up. It means the affluent, the elite class, the new middle class, the aspirers have been slower than the average income growth. So their per capita income has been growing at a slower pace. Second important aspect regarding this is the households in these lower income segments have been hit hardest by the impact of demonetization, the GST. These two played an important role in deriving the growth lower for especially the informal sector or the small and medium enterprises sectors, which reports have been suggested that this is just because of NBFC crisis as well. The consumption of the households or these income segments has been slowed down faster than the average. But the main scenario is that informal sector and the small scale industries were hit badly by the demonetization and the GST. The third and the last one we have is the demand gap. Now the demand gap plays an important role. Now this demand gap has not been compensated by the higher consumption of the affluent or the higher income group people. The reason can be like the tax on luxuries, the tax or the surcharge on the super rich on their income, like people earning more than 1 crore per annum, they have to pay a certain amount of surcharge. Now these kind of things actually subdued the animal spirit of the higher income group people, and that eroded the recent erosion in the values of the real estate as well as the stocks played an important role. So obviously we need to understand here that the key conclusion is, whenever we want to pull the growth, the best is the consumption. And now government is having few options, like the most important is the reduction in the income tax rate. Although it is very difficult for the government in the next budget, but in near future if they want, income tax is the quick solution to increase the consumption, as well as other indirect tax structure like GST. So this is what I wanted to discuss here, and if you have any doubt, any query, any suggestion, you can always ask. So if you have any doubt, you can ask. As I said earlier, daily we are meeting at 10:30 p.m. from Monday to Saturday on a daily basis regarding the current aspects of the economy. So economic discussion and analysis. So this is our agenda from Monday to Saturday, daily at 10:30 p.m. Apart from this, we are having the courses on Ecoholics app for UPSC, IAS examination, for their economics optional, Indian Economic Services, UGC NET examination, the courses on econometrics and the mathematical economics. Yeah, so the doubt is, what's the difference between growth and development? Yeah, very simple difference. Growth and the development. Number one, growth is quantitative, like in figures, 6%, 7%. Development is qualitative, like you can see from the quality. Like how will you measure the quality? Like infrastructure development, like roads, hospitals, education, etc. Growth is unidimensional. Either it could go this side or that side. It means either positive or negative. But the development is multi-dimensional. It means it will be like this, all-round development. If you build a school in a particular rural area, obviously that school will improve the literacy rate, will improve the social awareness, etc. So you can understand. The measurement of the growth, the is GDP, per capita income, but the measurement tools of the development is, we can say, the HDI, Human Development Index, Physical Quality of Life Index. So these are the important difference between the growth and the development. So I hope you understand that the main difference between the growth and the development. Mainly we can say, as a developing country, we need development more. It is desirable for India, but if we see United States of America, which are already developed, so they need growth. So India is aspiring for development, developed countries are aspiring for growth. So that is the main difference. Any further doubt, if you are having, most welcome. Otherwise we'll wind up the session. So the next question is, why government is not giving direct benefit to the rural sector? Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi is what that they are giving 6,000 rupees to every farmer, single farmer that they are getting. So this is the example of the direct benefit to the rural sector. Obviously, government should give more to the rural sector, because giving cash or giving money like benefits is not a solution. What government should do, government should build the capacity. So capacity building is the solution. Never write in the examination like government should give cash or give benefits directly to the beneficiaries, but the capacity building is very vital. What is capacity building? A simple sense, suppose you must have seen that people are asking for money and begging for money. What you can do, that they are having, suppose 10 rupees they are collecting from, we can say, 50 people. So at the end of the day they have rupees 500 with them. Now what they will do with this 500, apart from giving this 10 rupees to a beggar, what we can do, we can give a certain amount of assets. Like for example, we'll build a small shop nearby road, and that particular result into the capacity building of that individual. So that individual will have certain facility to earn money income from that. Another example of capacity building in related to agriculture sector. Now, under agriculture sector, the capacity building is about the irrigation facilities. Do not give free electricity. These free electricity will never give you desired result. But if you build the irrigation facility in the rural area, that will build the capacity of the rural farmers. So we need capital investment into the rural sector. So government can give certain kind of subsidy to that, and these kind of subsidy is obviously exempted under WTO. WTO blue box and green box subsidies are having these kind of provision. Otherwise India is giving MSP and PDS. So these MSP and PDS are coming under the category of the IMB box subsidy. But under blue box and green box, this rural infrastructure funds are allowed. So you can say that funds given to build the capital assets into the rural area is the solution. The quick fix solution is this, that in the next 4 or 5 years, what government should do, government should liberalize the agriculture sector. And the second thing that government can do, government is shifting a labor from agriculture to non-agriculture. This is the initial thing that we need to revive the rural sector. So I hope you get the answer to your question. So that's it for today, and please don't forget to subscribe Ecoholics and click on the bell icon, so you'll get the notification of each and every video and regarding the live session as well. So till then, see you soon, and study hard. If you need any help, you can always contact on this number given on your screen. So that's it for today. Thank you so much. Good night.